I'll do anything.
Please
Just
don't leave
turn
me.
me away. The cowboy's reply saved her soul. She was left alone
Ma'am,
on a snow-covered
you'll
platform,
freeze.
trembling as the train disappeared into the night. Cold
Why
bit through
help
her
me?
thin cloak, and hope felt like a
Because someone should
distant
have helped me
memory.
once.
Then he appeared, Luke Carson, a lone cowboy, riding through the
Sip
blizzard,
slow.
eyes steady,
Storm's
heart,
nasty.
ready to protect. He lifted her onto his horse, wrapped her in his coat,
I was left too.
whispering, "Someone should have helped me once." They reached a small cabin, warmth and fire greeting them. Over tea,
You're
they
safe
shared
here.
past losses, finding comfort in each other. Luke's voice, steady and true, promised safety. "You're safe here." In that moment, amidst snow and shadows, hope and healing began. Snow fell thickly outside the small wooden cabin, and the wind whistled through the cracks, swallowing every sound from the quiet town. Luke Carson, wearing a heavy leather coat, crossed the snow-covered yard reins, gripped tightly in his hand. In the dim light of the cabin, he saw Clara Bennett, trembling alone in the blizzard, her lips tinged purple and eyes filled with worry. Without a word, Luke gently placed his hand on her shoulder, wrapped the thick blanket around her, and guided her inside the cabin. Inside, the fire crackled in the hearth, and the aroma of rising tea filled the air. Luke poured the hot tea and placed it on the rough wooden table, his gaze soft and attentive as he watched Clara's every movement. She sat down in a chair near the fire, feeling the warmth spread through her body, each heartbeat slowing as comfort settled in. For the first time since being left alone in the snow, Clara felt safe. The cold outside seemed blocked by the cabin walls, giving way to peace and warmth. And in that moment, her heart began to believe in gentle protection. Part 1. The abandoned train station. Snow blanketed the entire train station, and the wind howled through the cracks, carrying sparkling ice particles in the biting cold. Clara Bennett stepped tentatively across the empty platform, her hands trembling her thin coat, offering little protection against the piercing chill. She watched the train disappear into the night, its whistle fading through the snow, leaving behind an emptiness and a profound loneliness deep in her heart. Each step she took on the heavy snow echoed in solitude, the wind whipping through her hair and across her face, making her shiver. Any passers-by had long since gone. There was no one left to hope, for no one to lean on. Clara felt the stark reality of abandonment, as if the world around her had become a frozen painting, where all warmth was buried beneath the snow. Her eyes scanned the platform, searching for someone, any sign of light, but she only saw the dim yellow lamps shimmering in the mist, reflected on the thick snow, reminding her of her solitude. She pressed her hands against her thin coat, trying to trap the warmth in her shivering body. Her heart felt frozen along with the snow outside, each beat loud in her chest, yet hollow with emptiness. She told herself she had to keep moving, but her feet felt bound, torn between the urge to run and the need to find a safe place. Snowflakes fell on her hair and shoulders, deepening the cold that seeped into her bones. Clara took a deep breath, trying to steady herself, but tears still rolled down her cheeks, mixing with the melting snow. She felt fear, helplessness, and an overwhelming loneliness. Every distant sound, the whistling wind, the metallic clatter of the rails, the far-off cry of a wild bird made her heart ache. Her eyes searched desperately for a miracle, for a helping hand. but all she saw was a blinding white expanse, an endless emptiness. A sense of panic gripped her as she stepped to the edge of the platform, staring at the tracks buried in snow. Each step felt weighed down by the heaviness of her solitude. She wondered, would anyone see her? Would someone appear to save her from this blizzard? The questions echoed in her mind, but only the wind answered howling coldly. At that moment, Clara shivered, clutching the edge of her coat, eyes wide as she looked around, both fearful and longing for anything to appear. She felt her own smallness against the vast wilderness of the West, where harshness seemed always ready to devour the weak. Yet deep inside, a spark of hope remained that someone, even just one person, would come to save her from the cold, from the loneliness. Alongside the fear and worry, curiosity crept in. Clara listened to every tiny sound: the whistling wind, the crunch of snow underfoot, the clatter of metal, even sounds she would normally ignore. In this moment, they all felt alive, reminding her that she still existed, that there was still a chance for rescue. She continued to move slowly, but steadily, each step a battle between fear and fragile hope. In that instant, Clara realized that even the deepest loneliness could be changed if a helping hand appeared at the right time. She told herself, "I must live. I must keep moving." And then through the blinding snow, a figure appeared in the distance, barely visible through the mist. At first, Clara thought it was a hallucination, but she followed with her eyes, her heart beating faster than ever. The figure, tall and steady, was moving toward her. In that choked moment, a wave of warmth and safety swept over her, calming her trembling shoulders. She let out a quiet breath, eyes wide as she watched the approaching figure. It was Luke Carson, a quiet cowboy, yet his gaze exuded calm and determination. He stopped in front of Clara, his eyes gentle but resolute, and in the harsh cold of the West, he became the only symbol of hope. Luke spoke little, merely draping his thick coat around Clara's shoulders as if transferring warmth and protection through the layers of fabric. Clara felt the difference immediately. The cold no longer touched her skin. Instead, she felt the heat from the man standing before her. She gripped his sleeve instinctively, both to keep warm and to cling to the hope igniting within her. The wind still howled outside, snow still fell, but in that moment, Clara no longer felt fear. She felt safe for the first time since stepping off the train. And in Luke's eyes, she saw an unspoken promise that she would no longer be alone, that someone would protect her in this harsh Western land. Clara exhaled softly, tears streaming down her cheeks. But this time, they were tears of relief, of a newly kindled hope. She stepped slowly after Luke, one step at a time, leaving behind loneliness and the merciless blizzard, stepping into a new journey where warmth and humanity began to seep into her life. Part 2. The Cowboy appears. Amid the blinding snowstorm, the open prairie stretched like an endless sea. Clara Bennett stood alone, shoulders trembling, heart racing every time the wind lashed her face. Snow covered her feet, each step sinking, as if swallowed by an invisible, frozen world. She looked around, eyes wide, hoping to catch a sign of life through the swirling white. But before her, there was only absolute silence. Only the whistling wind and the creaking of snow beneath her boots. Suddenly, a figure appeared in the distance, barely visible through the white haze. At first, Clara thought it was a mirage, but the figure gradually became clearer. A tall man on horseback, wearing a thick leather coat, a wide-brimmed hat, a scarf fluttering in the wind. He rode closer, hooves firm against the snow. Clara's heart raced, a spark of hope igniting in her eyes. She trembled, yet no longer felt lost, for this figure carried an unspoken promise she would not be alone anymore. Luke Carson stopped his horse a few steps from Clara, his gaze calm, studying her. Snow blanketed his shoulders, the blizzard making him appear like a phantom of the West. Yet every movement was deliberate and assured. He removed his gloves and draped his heavy coat over her shoulders, a gentle yet protective gesture. Clara exhaled softly. The warmth from the thick coat soothed her, easing the biting chill that had penetrated her bones. She looked up at him, her eyes shining with a newfound hope. For the first time since being abandoned at the train station, she saw someone truly coming to rescue her, a hand offering not just physical aid, but also emotional comfort. Luke spoke little, but his eyes said it all: safety, protection, and gentle kindness. The wind still roared across the prairie, but in that moment, Clara felt warmth spreading through her body. She clutched his coat instinctively, a natural reflex to hold on to life, hope, and the man standing before her. Her breaths became steadier. Her heartbeat calmed, and a strange sense of security filled her small heart, long accustomed to solitude. Luke Carson gently drew her closer, his gaze still calm, as if imparting a deep, silent message. You are not alone anymore. He led her step by step, trudging through the heavy snow, keeping a firm hold on her while scanning their surroundings, ready for any danger that might arise. Clara sensed the strength tempered with gentleness, and her confidence grew with him. By her side, she could face any blizzard or challenge the harsh West might throw at her. She looked into Luke's eyes once more, seeing not only calm, but also kindness, an unspoken promise that she would be protected. Hope sparked within her, like a small candle enough to pierce the cold darkness. In that moment, amid the vast prairie and the white storm, Clara realized for the first time that someone in this world was willing to place her safety above all else, and perhaps from this moment, her life would change. Luke gave a slight nod, acknowledging the invisible connection between them. He led her toward a nearby cabin, each step firm and unwavering. Clara followed her shoulders, no longer shaking violently, her heart inching closer to the warmth of the stranger who had just become her savior. The storm outside raged on, but within her, a newfound peace began to take root, opening a new chapter in her challenging life in the West. Part 3. Salvation. The icy wind swept across the prairie, striking Clara's face and forcing her to squint, each gust piercing through her thin coat. She stood there shivering, her small shoulders, hunched heart pounding with fear and a loneliness that felt unbearable. Suddenly, a strong hand grasped hers, lifting her off the cold ground, raising her higher. Clara let out a small gasp, but immediately felt the solidity, the warmth of the man before her. Luke Carson, calm and steadfast, lifted Clara onto the saddle. His thick coat enveloped her completely, shielding her from the merciless wind outside. Snow continued to fall relentlessly, but within his arms, she felt as if she were encased in a protective shell, completely separated from the harshness of the West. Each flake landing on her shoulders or hair seemed to melt before the warmth radiating from Luke. Clara clung tightly to his neck, eyes scanning down and then up, meeting Luke's watchful gaze. He observed her, every movement, every subtle reaction. This silent protection gradually calmed her. Her heart, once racing with fear, now began to synchronize with the steady rhythm of Luke's feeling complete safety. The wind still howled, snow still blanketed the world, yet amidst the relentless storm, a gentle trust blossomed in Clara's heart. She began to believe that at least in this moment, someone would not leave her alone. Luke's warm breath, tinged with the scent of leather and smoke from the fireplace he had tended earlier in the cabin, created a space of protection, gentle yet strong. She gradually relaxed, loosening her grip, slightly leaning into his shoulder. Luke shifted carefully, balancing the horse, while looking at her with understanding and empathy. He spoke his deep voice, slow, but filled with sincerity. "'Cause someone should have helped me once." The words echoed through the blizzard, reaching into her soul. Clara felt the truth in each syllable. He did not rescue her out of obligation, but because he understood loneliness, understood the helplessness one could feel in the unforgiving West. And now he offered her not only warmth, but trust, protection, and faith. The horse trudged through the thick snow hooves, clicking rhythmically. Clara leaned against Luke, eyes half closed, her trembling fading, replaced by a steady heartbeat and a strange sense of peace. She realized that for the first time, after countless days of loneliness, she no longer felt fear. The cold outside no longer made her shiver, for in his arms, she was protected, sheltered, and most importantly, trusted. Silently, they moved toward the nearby cabin, snow blanketing the ground, yet their exchanged glances spoke volumes. This moment had changed everything. Luke had not only saved her from the storm outside, but had also rescued her heart from loneliness and despair. Clara felt her own heartbeat slow, merging with Luke's strong, steady rhythm like a new life being ignited in the Wild West. With each step, each breath, each glance, Clara began to believe in something she had never dared to imagine, that even in this cold and unforgiving West, there existed a protective hand, a heart willing to shelter her, and a person who could make her feel safe. And in that instant, she smiled softly. For the first time since stepping off the train, she felt truly saved. Part 4. The Warm Cabin. Clara's breath still carried the scent of snow, her shoulders trembling as Luke Carson gently helped her into a wooden chair near the fireplace. The flickering fire cast warm golden streaks across her face, slowly driving away the bone-chilling cold she had just endured on the snow-covered prairie. Luke carefully draped a thick blanket around her shoulders, each layer of fabric trapping warmth, like an invisible arm shielding her from the biting wind outside. Clara exhaled softly, her trembling gradually replaced by a strange, soothing calm. She sat quietly, eyes following the dancing flames on the cabin wall, each flicker reflecting in her tear-brimmed eyes, giving her a sense of relief she had never felt before. This small, cozy space became a safe haven where she could relax her body and mind temporarily, forgetting the loneliness that had clung to her for days. Luke leaned down, pouring hot tea into a ceramic cup, the steam mingling with the scent of burning wood and the faint trace of snow still lingering on her coat. He placed the cup in front of Clara, his gaze gentle and attentive. communicating without words. You are safe here. Clara reached out, feeling the warmth spread through her fingertips, then took a small sip, letting the heat flow through her, calming her racing heart. She sat quietly occasionally, glancing at Luke, noticing how his eyes watched over her protectively, each gesture deliberate, slow, and sure. No longer was there wind lashing her face or snow covering her body, only the warmth of the fire, the tea, and the presence of someone standing by her side. Her heart slowly settled, as if all the tension and fear she had endured melted away in this moment. Clara took a deep breath, feeling her heartbeat slow and her shivers fade. The warm glow of the fire and the gentle yellow light in the cabin seeped deep into her soul, bringing a sense of healing. She realized that not only was her body protected, but her lonely heart was being cared for and warmed by the gentle affection Luke offered. Luke stood nearby, hand resting lightly on the cup he had poured, his gaze never leaving her. The light reflecting off his face gave her a sense of steadfastness and reassurance. All worries and fears gradually disappeared, replaced by a feeling of safety, protection, and tenderness. Clara closed her eyes, letting the warmth envelop her body, allowing herself to trust that she could lean on someone, that she was no longer alone. The tea steam swirled, mingling with the scent of burning wood, making the cabin feel alive, yet gentle like a warm pool amid the blizzard outside. Each crackle from the fire beat in rhythm with her heartbeat, creating a new peaceful rhythm, healing her from within. Clara smiled softly, realizing for the first time since leaving the train station that the cold, harsh world outside no longer seemed frightening, because someone stood by her, protecting and sheltering her with all his gentle care. In that moment, the cabin became a world of its own, where only two people and a loyal horse outside the door existed. She heard the distant whistle of the wind, but in her mind, all sounds faded into the background, replaced by warmth, firelight, and tranquility. Clara understood that this was not just a refuge from the blizzard, but a place where her heart could heal, where hope and trust began to grow. She took a small sip of tea, eyes fixed on the dancing flames, her heart overflowing with safety and warmth. For the first time, after so many days of loneliness and fear, Clara felt truly protected, cared for, and in that moment, she began to believe that even the harsh challenges of the West could be less daunting with Luke by her side. Part 5. Sharing the pain. The steam from the tea rose gently, mingling with the scent of burning wood in the cabin, filling the small space. The fireplace flames danced, casting warm light across Clara's face, highlighting the weariness and the traces of long-held loneliness. She held the hot cup in her hands, slightly trembling, sipping slowly, the warmth spreading through her body, though a trace of tension and the fear from the abandoned train station still lingered in her heart. Luke Carson sat across from her, his gaze gentle yet profound, looking at Clara with an understanding that only someone who has experienced loss could feel. He inhaled softly, his deep voice resonating in the quiet cabin. I've lost people I loved, and I know what it feels like to be left alone. His words were not loud, yet they echoed in Clara's heart like a bridge connecting their emotions. Clara turned her face slightly, eyes glistening, staring at the dancing flames, then exhaled softly. I've lost too much. I have no one to rely on. Her voice quivered, blending with the crackle of the fire and the distant howl of the wind outside. Each word fell like a silent tear merging with the warm, yet faintly melancholic atmosphere of the cabin. Luke leaned forward, placing his hand over Clara's cup, his eyes seeming to convey steadiness and trust. "You don't have to face it alone anymore," he said, his voice deep but firm. Clara looked into his eyes and saw not only empathy, but an unspoken reliability. She felt relief, as if burdens long carried were being lifted, as if her pain was being shared and understood. They sat quietly together, listening to one another. Clara spoke of the days she had been abandoned, of loneliness, and losses that no one had understood. Luke shared his own pain, the loss of loved ones, and the moments he had to walk alone through the harsh West. No words were rushed or dramatic. Everything was gentle, deliberate, and sincere, each moment embedding itself in the listener's heart. Tears silently ran down Clara's cheeks, mixing with the warm glow of the fire, allowing her to feel a subtle, profound healing. For the first time, she realized she was no longer alone, that someone truly understood her pain and was willing to stand by her, sharing in her losses. Luke's gaze remained protective and kind, drawing her heart closer, and she felt a gentle trust beginning to bloom. The tea steam continued to rise, mingling with the firelight and the small silhouettes of the two of them, creating a space both still and warm, where pain slowly found solace. Clara closed her eyes for a moment, exhaling in relief, her earlier trembling completely gone. Her heart was filled with empathy and trust, realizing that sharing sorrow could soothe even the oldest wounds. In that quiet moment, amidst the warmth of the tea, the smoke, and the gentle light, Clara and Luke found each other in their pain, sharing and understanding, forming a delicate yet strong bond. Trust took root. Their hearts drew closer than ever. And for the first time, Clara clearly felt that she no longer had to walk alone in the cold, unforgiving West. Part 6. Town Conflict. The warm glow from the cabin could not fully dispel the tense atmosphere beyond the windows. Snow continued to fall heavily, but now the sound of horse hooves and the whistling wind mingled with the murmurs from the nearby town, creating a heavy sense of foreboding, as if signaling a new challenge. Clara stood near the fireplace, eyes fixed on the door, sensing the subtle change in the once peaceful space. Outside, Sheriff Dalton appeared, his figure moving steadily across the snow-covered ground. His wide-brimmed hat obscured most of his face, but his eyes flashed with authority and sternness. The townsfolk's whispers drifted through the cracks, carrying judgment and prejudice. "She doesn't belong here. Who knows what she's done before?" Those words made the cabin tense, like the calm before a storm. Luke Carson said nothing, standing firmly at the cabin doorway, his gaze sharp yet calm, sending a clear message he was the protector here. Clara felt his steadiness and determination, her heart both anxious and reassured. He was not only shielding her from the cold outside, but also defending her from the town's prejudices, gossip, and the injustice they might impose. Sheriff Dalton approached, eyes stern, voice deep. "Luke, she doesn't belong here. She needs to leave." The words rang out, but did not shake Luke. He replied steady and firm, "Clara stays. I will protect her. No one has the right to make her leave." Tension filled the cabin, the wind whistling through the cracks, as if emphasizing every word and glance. Clara stood behind Luke, her heart pounding, both worried for her own safety and moved by the strength and honor of the man standing before her. Luke faced not only Sheriff Dalton, but also the town's prejudice standing up to defend justice and her right to safety. Every movement Luke made was deliberate and confident. He maintained his distance, eyes tracking every motion of the sheriff, hand near his gun, but not rushing to draw it, showing restraint, yet readiness to protect. Clara watched him, tears streaming, not from fear, but from admiration for his courage and decisiveness. In that moment, she realized he was protecting not just her body, but her dignity and heart from unjust judgment. Sheriff Dalton stood silent for a moment, eyes scrutinizing, then exhaled deeply. Luke did not waver, did not move. The silence was almost deafening, as if time had stopped. The wind still blew outside, but inside the cabin, everything felt still, the warmth of the fire and the tense heartbeat of the moment merging. Clara clutched Luke's coat tightly, her heart moving closer to him than ever before. Excitement, tension, and trust in Luke's honor and sense of justice filled her. For the first time, she understood that in this harsh West, not everything was unjust. A person could stand up for what was right, and that person was Luke. Finally, Sheriff Dalton nodded slightly and stepped back, his gaze not entirely softened, but acknowledging the truth. Luke exhaled lightly, still standing guard at the door, eyes on Clara, silently affirming that she was safe, at least for now. Clara breathed out the tension of the moment, melting away, replaced by a newfound calm, seeping into her soul. In the quiet that followed the conflict, Clara realized that she not only had a refuge from the blizzard, but also a protector, someone standing up for her, guarding her trust and heart amidst the cold, judgmental West. Being beside this man brought her a gentle hope, opening a new chapter in her life. Part 7. Love Blossoms. The sunset bathed the vast prairie in golden light, soft rays glinting off the lingering snow, creating a scene both serene and warm. Clara Bennett stood beside Luke Carson, both of them watching the horizon, as the sun slowly sank its light reflecting on the remaining snowflakes, making her eyes sparkle with each faint beam. After the hours of blizzard and tension with the town, she now felt an overwhelming sense of peace. Her heart slowed the previous trembling, and fear completely gone, replaced by a security she had never known. Clara looked at Luke, her gaze tender, faint yet full of trust. He stood tall, broad-shouldered, his warm, steady eyes radiating a reassurance that made her feel her heart could lean on a strong shoulder where all her loneliness could be soothed. Luke tilted his head slightly, a gentle smile fleeting across his rugged yet kind face. No words were necessary. With just his gaze and gestures, Clara understood that he was here for her, not leaving her side, not only during the recent blizzard, but through all the trials and solitude she had endured. A sense of safety spread through her, easing every tension as warmth from Luke's tender gestures seeped into her being. Clara closed her eyes for a moment, inhaling deeply, feeling his breath nearby. With each passing second, she found herself opening up more than ever before. Every fear, every doubt was replaced by trust and hope. She began to smile soft and natural, no longer anxious or uneasy. Her heart moved closer to Luke's, as if finally finding a safe harbor after so many lonely days. Luke placed his hand lightly on her shoulder, eyes gazing toward the distant horizon where the sun had just disappeared. "We're not alone anymore, right?" he asked, his deep, warm voice sharing the feeling that was blossoming between them. Clara looked at him, eyes glistening, blinking softly, confirming what her heart was already sensing: a new hope, a gentle love beginning to take root in this very moment. They stood together across the wide prairie, bathed in the golden sunset. The soft rustle of the wind through the grass mingled with the sound of their breaths, creating a peaceful rhythm. Clara leaned gently against Luke, feeling his steady shoulders, her heart filled with a complete sense of safety. No fear or storm could intrude on this moment. Only two people, a new but powerful affection and hope beginning to weave into their hearts. In the soft glow of the sunset, Clara realized that love does not always arrive loudly or hurriedly. It can come through gentleness, protective acts, and sincere glances. She felt her heart open, ready to trust, ready to give away what she had held inside for so long. Luke, with his strength and tenderness, had become her safe harbor, a place where she found comfort and hope for the future. They stood in silence, eyes locked, words unnecessary. Warmth and security filled the space, blending with the golden hues of the sunset, creating a sacred moment where love was just beginning, but already strong enough to heal deep wounds in the soul. Clara smiled, and for the first time, after so many storms, she truly felt that she belonged somewhere, this place, this heart, and by the side of Luke Carson. Part 8. Found Family. The warm wooden cabin echoed with the laughter of children as Timmy and Lily burst inside their clothes, dusted with snow, tiny flakes still clinging to their hair. They ran around the cabin, hopping and skipping, before pausing to look at Luke and Clara with innocent, joyful, and curious eyes. The cozy atmosphere from the crackling fireplace, mingling with the smell of fresh bread and hot tea, made the small space feel more alive than ever. Clara smiled, her gaze gentle as she watched the children. She knelt down, opening her arms, and Timmy ran into her embrace, while Lily nestled close by, beaming. Luke stood nearby, hand resting on Timmy's shoulder, his expression both serious and tender. Together, the four of them formed a warm circle, a space where the loneliness and cold outside seemed to vanish entirely. They prepared a simple meal together. Clara carried bowls of hot porridge, Luke poured more tea, and Timmy and Lily waited eagerly. She looked at each small face, realizing that these smiles and bright eyes were what she and Luke could protect, nurture, and love. No longer were they two lonely individuals. Now they had become a small family, a space where love and kindness multiplied. Timmy played with some dough on his hands. Lily giggled as she tried to grab a piece of bread. Clara gently wiped their hands, her eyes full of tenderness, while Luke watched attentively, ensuring no one fell or caught cold. Every gesture and action conveyed genuine care, soft yet steadfast. As the four sat around the table, enjoying a simple but heartwarming meal, Clara felt joy seep into every part of her being. She smiled at Luke, noticing the happiness in his eyes, as well a rare but steady tenderness. This moment soothed the wounds in her heart, a reminder that even in the Wild West, there was a refuge for lonely souls, a place where love and family could bloom. Outside, the snow continued to fall silently, but the sound of children's laughter and voices inside brought life and warmth to the cabin. Clara felt a new hope that this home with Luke and the children would be a place where she could find peace no longer alone. Gentle happiness flowed through every breath, every heartbeat reminding her that despite the harshness of the West, the human heart could still find shelter, family, and true love. After the meal, Luke led Timmy and Lily to the window to watch the falling snow. Clara standing beside them, eyes shining with joy and hope. She realized that this peaceful moment was not just the warmth of the cabin or the crackling fire, but the joy and happiness shared with those she loved, a small family built from sincere affection and quiet care. Amid the children's laughter, the warm light, and the spreading warmth, Clara clearly felt that this was the home she had been seeking, a place to love, to be protected, and to live fully in the Wild West. Part 9. Choosing to Live. The sunset painted the sky golden, the last rays of sunlight glinting off the remaining snow on the prairie, creating a scene both peaceful and majestic. A gentle breeze blew, carrying the scent of damp earth and burning wood from the cabin. Luke Carson stood by the window, eyes fixed on the small town lying quietly beneath the sunset. In his heart, a decision had formed. He would not leave. He would stand to protect Clara and the small family he had just found. Clara stood beside him, her hand resting lightly in his, feeling his steady heartbeat and calm breath. She looked into Luke's eyes, seeing determination, steadiness, and unwavering loyalty. In that moment, she realized she had found a true refuge, not just a home, but protection. A heart always ready to stand for justice and love. Luke exhaled broad shoulders, steady against the light wind. He recalled all the challenges and losses he had faced and realized that now his duty and honor extended not only to himself, but to those he loved. He turned to Clara, a gentle yet firm smile spreading across his face. "We'll stay here. No one will harm you or the children," he said. Clara smiled, eyes glistening with happiness and emotion. She knew these words were not just a promise, but proof of the loyalty and honor Luke had always carried in his heart. His protection extended beyond the present. It opened a future where she and the small family could live in peace, happiness, and safety. A soft breeze rustled Luke's coat, creating an image both strong and warm. Clara stepped closer, leaning into his shoulder, feeling complete steadiness and security. There were no more blizzards, no tension from the town, only the sunset, the warmth of the cabin, and the rhythm of their hearts. Clara felt hope spreading through her, her heart filled with faith in the future. Luke inhaled deeply, eyes fixed on the horizon, silently vowing to protect this home at all costs. Honor and responsibility were expressed in every action, every gesture. He knew the Wild West could be harsh, but with this resolve, he would ensure that those he loved would live in safety, love, and peace. Clara held his hand, tightly smiling softly. The trembling and fear of before had completely vanished, replaced by trust, peace, and hope. This moment marked not only Luke's choice to live fully, but also a turning point for their lives, a place where love, family, and honor were affirmed and protected. The sunset gradually faded, the golden light turning to amber and red, reflecting off the snow like a promise from the West. Despite its harshness, there is always a refuge for loyal, brave hearts ready to protect one another. Luke and Clara stood side by side gazing at the horizon, knowing that from this moment on, they would no longer be alone. The home they had built, now solidified by his loyalty and determination, became a place where hope, love, and protection were complete. Part 10. Open Ending. The blizzard had finally subsided, leaving a sky of clear blue streaked with the golden and amber hues of sunset. Outside the cabin, the white snow stretched across the prairie, glittering under the soft light of the fading sun. A gentle breeze carried the scent of damp earth and lingering smoke from the cabin's fire. The silence was so profound that every distant bird call and the sound of Shadow the loyal horse standing near Luke became vivid and intimate. Luke Carson and Clara Bennett stood side by side at the cabin door, eyes fixed on the horizon. Luke's arm rested lightly on Clara's shoulder, conveying warmth and steadiness. Clara leaned against him, feeling the rhythm of his heartbeat. Hers no longer trembled, but beat in harmony with his, creating a sense of complete safety. Shadow stood close back, brushing against the remaining snow, breathing evenly, forming a tranquil scene of a small family finding their haven after days of storms. Clara looked at Luke, her eyes glimmering with trust and hope. They needed no words. Every emotion was conveyed through their gaze, smiles, and presence. After days of loneliness, blizzards, trials, and conflict, they now stood together on the vast prairie, knowing they had found refuge, not just the wooden cabin, but hearts a home and the love and kindness they shared. Luke tilted his head slightly, a gentle smile appearing on his rugged yet warm face. "We've made it here," he said, his deep, warm voice steady. "And from now on, there will be no more loneliness." Clara smiled, eyes sparkling, feeling every word as an eternal promise. She knew that in the harsh West, not everything was fair or easy, but love and kindness still existed, providing shelter for fearful, lonely hearts searching for protection. The wind blew, lifting Clara's hair in the soft sunset light. She held Luke's hand tightly, the trembling and fear of the past completely gone, replaced by calm and hope. Shadow let out a soft neigh, as if affirming their unity, a small family newly formed, protected and ready to face whatever lay ahead. They stood in silence, sensing an unspoken connection. Luke was the safe harbor. Clara, the trust and shadow with the cabin, formed a steadfast shelter. The sunset's glow stretched across the snow, reflecting in their eyes, painting a serene, still yet warm scene. This space, with its light warmth and presence, embodied the message they had lived through in the harsh West. Love and kindness were the only true shelter. Clara rested her head on Luke's shoulder, exhaling softly, feeling peace seep into every beat of her heart. She thought of the blizzards, the abandoned train station, the lonely days before realizing they had all led to this moment, the moment they found each other, found a family, found hope. Her heart overflowed with gratitude, not only for Luke, but for a life that, though harsh, still offered chances to honest and resilient hearts. Luke glanced at Clara, his gaze full of tenderness, and together they quietly watched the horizon where amber and golden light mingled with pale blue. A surge of hope filled them. They would face every challenge together, build their home, protect their loved ones, and uphold their honor in the vast, unforgiving West. The final scene, 3 figures standing together, Luke, Clara, and Shadow. The storm had passed, the warm sunset spreading across the prairie, all prior tension, fear, and loneliness seemingly gone. Only peace remained a bond, and hope opening a future filled with love and kindness, the only true shelter in the Wild West. Peace after the storm. The blizzard had finally passed, leaving a warm sunset, casting golden light across the prairie in front of the wooden cabin. A gentle breeze blew, carrying the scent of damp earth and lingering smoke from the fireplace. Luke Carson and Clara Bennett stood side by side, gazing at the vast sky as the sun slowly sank, painting the remaining snow on the prairie in shades of red and gold. Shadow stood close by, breathing steadily, completing a serene scene. There was no storm outside, no whistling wind or thick snow, only calm warmth and the mingled heartbeats of two people who had just endured great trials. Clara leaned against Luke, feeling his warmth. The trembling and fear of the past had completely vanished, replaced by a profound, peaceful serenity. Luke tilted his head slightly toward Clara, his gaze gentle, radiating steadiness and protection. No words were needed. Every emotion was conveyed through their eyes, smiles, and shared presence. Both felt that in the harsh West, love and kindness were the only true shelter, safeguarding the hearts and lives of honest, resilient people. The surrounding scene, with the sunset's glow, reflecting off the white snow, and in their eyes created a picture of peace and hope. Clara exhaled softly, smiling, realizing that every challenge, every loneliness, and every storm had led to this moment, the moment their home was formed and protected, and her heart was healed. In the harsh West, love and kindness are the only true shelter. Leave a comment and rate it from 0 to 10. Subscribe for the next Wild West story.